Walton Erin stated that no matter how cohesive the class, there's usually one student who just is not, let's say, feeling it. As teachers, I think, we really understand this for we know that students come with different family or cultural background, different interests, different learning style, and other differences. That is why it is important for teachers to play various roles in the classroom. Teachers can play a role as the controller to see what students do, what they say, and how they see it. They can also be the prompter to encourage students to participate and make suggestions about how students may proceed in an activity. They can also be the resource to provide learners with whatever language they lack when performing communicative activities and to guide students to use available resources. They can also be the assessor to see how students perform in the classroom. Today, we will not be discussing these roles, but we will focus on another special role of teachers, that is to be an opener of doors. Opening doors is about capturing students' natural curiosity, interest, and energy, and showing them the possibility of new ideas and new ways to view the work of a particular subject area. It occurs when teachers slip quietly from the role of teacher into the role of mentor, spending much less time telling and much more time suggesting, encouraging, pointing the way, identifying resources, and monitoring students' independent progress. As an opener of doors, teachers have the privilege to turn students into avid learners and lifelong readers and writers in your subject areas and engaging their interest and energy for independent learning. These are all things that will be discussed in our topic, Developing Lifelong Readers and Writers. There are three objectives of my presentation today: to understand the roles of teacher as an opener of doors for students, to know the strategies to develop lifelong readers and writers, and to recognize the various resources to develop lifelong readers and writers. The first thing teachers can do to develop lifelong readers and writers is to find out about readers and writers. Teachers need to know basic reading skills of students and their writing abilities. But we have to put more attention to students' literacy attitudes, their interests, and proclivities. Why it is important to get this information? Because you cannot really understand your students individually or as a group until you have a sense of how they view themselves. Gaining access to students' literacy attitudes, interests, and habits give you real insight into their attitude toward your subject area, other subject areas, school in general, and themselves as learners. The question is, how can we find out about this information? Those information can be obtained through questionnaires. Questionnaires are useful instruments for finding out about students. They are generally non-threatening and may be used at various times. It can be used whether early in the year or later. It is important to emphasize to your students that it has no bearing on grades and they might sign the questionnaires or respond anonymously. Questionnaires are intended to give you an overview of how students view their own literacy abilities, how they see school literacy, and the kind of reading and writing and the other literate activities they do independently. For teachers, feel free to adapt the questionnaires according to your subject area. Another way to find out about readers is through teachers' observation during free reading activity. Encourage your students to bring any books to the class to be read during the free time. They might bring various kinds of books such as comics, books from home, fiction, non-fiction, paperbacks, magazines, and library books. You only need to remind them that no nudity and no smut. Through the books that they bring to the class, you can then observe what kind of readers or what kind of books your students like to read. because students usually carry with them the things that are personally meaningful to them. Reading activity during the free time in the class is important, and it is supported by John Shovelbean in 1991. Good readers are students who read a lot outside and outside school assignments. This practice reading, just like practice playing the piano or playing basketball, is the key to high-level accomplishment. After free reading activity, you can also try free writing. Tell your students to write whatever they want. For example, what I found hardest about today's class. Repeat free reading and free writing activity every day. When your students routinely engage in this kind of reading and writing, your role is to pay attention to what they read and write. See what books and magazines are on their desks. Chat with them about their reading and writing. You can also share books that you are reading or have read and make suggestions and recommendations for them to read. You will learn an enormous amount about students as you talk about reading and writing with them and observe them as they read and write independently. Another strategy to develop lifelong readers and writers is to become familiar with good books for pre-adolescent and adolescent readers. Research by Appleby in 1992, Krickelberg in 1996, and Samuels in 1982 indicates that teachers, even English teachers, are often unfamiliar with the books that pre-adolescents and adolescents like to read. In addition to this, a national survey of English teachers by Sandra Krickelberg found that teachers have personally read very few notable young adult novels. In other words, teachers' lack of knowledge about what the students are reading. This condition does not only limit the possibilities for literature study, but also severely limits teachers' knowledge about the kids themselves and makes it impossible to achieve the goal of developing lifelong readers and writers. In the same study, Krickelberg added, teachers' lack of knowledge about young adult literature appears to limit its inclusion in literature classes. As an opener of doors, teachers can help students by providing classroom climates for literacy. Teachers need to do some effort to prepare things like books, magazines, bookshelves, writing folders, journal storage space, and so on. However, teachers might encounter some difficulties in order to gather all of this material. Therefore, here I present some suggestions to be considered. Teachers can join paperback book clubs, subscribe to magazines relevant to the subject area, buy books from the yearly budget, and they can also bring books from home. When this material can be gathered, it is recommended to be placed in the classroom so teachers and students can have an easy access to the material during the free time to do their activity. Then teachers can proceed with allocating reading and writing time each day and also providing various instruction for free reading and free writing activity. When the classroom climate for literacy is ready, reading with students, sustained silent reading or SSR is a good option. What kind of activity is this? It is a time when everyone in the classroom is reading. Teacher is included. Everyone reads a book or magazine of his or her own choice, and the periods can be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes long. By doing this, you'll be surprised at how interested students are in what you are reading. You may also be surprised to find that students begin listening to your recommendations for books more attentively or even begin asking you to suggest good books to read. Through such activities, you become a model of literate behavior and you develop bonds with students. Another option is reading to students. This is just as important as reading with them. Read what you like and they will like it too. According to a survey conducted by Letty Albright and Mary Ariel in 2005, there are some reasons why reading to students is important. That's because it can increase student enjoyment, improve listening skills, create community, stimulate critical thinking, and it can also enrich students' life. Another option that teacher has is writing with students. Just as we can implement SSR, so can we have periods of sustained writing. Other schools refer to it as sustained silent writing or SSW, and also jotters. The examples of these are journals and learning logs. The next option for teachers to take advantage from the literate classroom climate is writing to students. One of the most effective vehicles for writing to students is their journals. According to Atwell in 1998, students and teachers like the letter format for corresponding back and forth. Journal letters are exchanges between individuals writing as equals. They become another powerful tool for making literacy natural, easy, and self-sustaining. We are done with the discussion of classroom climates for literacy. Let us now proceed to the use of literature in content classes. What is actually the goal of this strategy? The goal of using literature in content classes is not for the purpose of literature study, but the goal is to bring to the study and learning of specific content the perspectives and ideas that various literary forms provide, including nonfiction. How about the resources for developing lifelong readers and writers? It is actually divided into two parts. The first part is resources for independent reading, finding good books. It includes school librarians because they know and they love books. Working with the librarian can help you to make arrangements for bringing or sending your students to the library easily. Your students and you can also gain access to online resources and book lists and other resources and accomplish any number of useful goals. Resource number two is students, because they know what books they like and what books they don't like, and they will tell you. Resources number three is published book list. This is important because it can assist you in selecting titles for your own reading, gathering books for in-class use, or making suggestions for students. Furthermore, there are many online resources about books for youth and adolescents. I encourage you to find sites where students and teachers recommend good books. The second part is resources for independent writing, finding good ideas. Good ideas for writing generally are ideas that grow out of our own experiences. Stimulating students' writing is simply a matter of triggering remembrance or exploring current experiences or events that are interesting and important in our daily lives. Memory, in particular, can be the source for much writing. This can be activated through the use of questions like, for the example, what unit in social studies touched your life the most? And finally, you may find video or web-based material and information to be a useful resource for writing ideas. This is the theoretical framework that I can draw from our discussion today. To develop lifelong readers and writers, the key element is teacher. As an opener of doors, teacher needs to do four important things. Number one, teacher needs to find out about readers and writers. They need to find out about what students like to read and what students like to write. Number two, teacher needs to provide classroom climates that encourage literacy. Number three, Teacher needs to use literature, and this is not for literature study, but to provide perspectives and ideas from different literary. And number 4, teacher needs to expose students to various resources to find good books for reading and good ideas for writing. For the integration of faith and learning, let me read from Psalm 32 verse 8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. Teachers, we are holding great work in our hand to instruct, to teach, and to counsel our students for a great future on earth and in heaven. This is the end of my presentation. If you have any question or comment, please write them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching and see you again.